See, most of the communication is nonverbal, right? They go into a certain position and you know what they mean and what they're going to do. For example, you will soon be in the know. When you're watching a group of cranes, I'll tell you the secret, and you're with a friend, you'll see some cranes and you'll be able to say, hey, I bet you those guys are going to fly. One of their nonverbal behaviors is before they fly, they'll kind of lean. Usually they're either standing right up and looking around or down on the ground feeding. But they do this kind of halfway lean, sort of stick their neck out, which means I'd like to fly, I'd like to go down, I'd like to go there, that direction. And a few of them will do it. And you'll be right. And your friends will say, how did you know that? So as time goes on, we start to understand, and it's kind of frustrating and wonderful at the same time because we're beginning to develop a dictionary, so to speak, of crane behavior. We're learning more and more as time goes on. And as I said, there are certain things about them that endears them to us. For example, they mate for life. They're very good parents. You know, in Asian cultures, they are very important symbols in their mythology and so forth. They are a symbol of fidelity, of long life. A lot of people, you know, before I go on, I have to tell you a few things. I'm with a group called S.O.S, Sandhill Cranes. We're a 501c3, a nonprofit, right? Most of us were volunteers here at the Consumers for Preserve, and we felt that we needed to do more for the cranes. So we set up this 501c3, and we do these, one of the things we do is public outreach. We do these free public tours, and the board consists of actually about 11 people. I'm a member, and Allison Ferkovich over there is another member. She's going to help us get around today. And so we have kind of a handshake relationship with the Preserve. They are kind of our hosts, but we're doing this tour as kind of a partnership with Audubon Society. Now let me get back to the cranes. The goal of our day today, well, two things: to learn a little bit about cranes, and maybe if we're lucky to go out and see them. Now, where are we going to see them? It depends on the time of day, time of year, and so forth. But they're wild animals, there's no guarantees. We have a pretty good idea where they'll be at sunset because of a certain peculiarity of their anatomy, which I'll get into in a moment. Many people believe they've seen cranes when they've seen, like this guy up here, the great blue heron, or the great eagle. They kind of look similar. They're tall, big birds, long skinny legs. They're around the water a lot of the time. But the cranes have a slight difference in anatomy, very small difference in anatomy, that has a profound difference in their behavior and the way they have to live. And it's the crane, that's the heron. You see a small difference that has a profound effect. The heron has those, crane, the heron, okay? So the heron, because, hold on a second. The heron, because it has those 4 toes, 3 forward and 1 back, it can do this. It can perch. This guy can't. So nighttime comes, coyotes come out, all the other terrestrial predators come out looking for dinner, and the birds could all go up in a tree, be very comfortable, survive the night. You never see cranes up in trees, or on fences, poles. They're stuck on the ground. So what are they going to do? How are they going to survive? Now I say coyotes, but in the past, and that past goes back a long time, maybe 10 million years, they are probably the oldest birds still extant in the world today has continuously survived as a species. Paleontologists found bones going back maybe 10 million years of cranes. So they survive very well. So what are they going to do at night? Coyotes, and in the past it was saber-toothed tigers and all kind of bears and wolves and whatever. Okay, what they do is they roost overnight in shallow water with long sight lines. So shallow water on a crane is like up to here, but on a coyote it's like up to here. So if the crane is out there an eighth of a mile, wetland, the coyote's trying to go get him. It's late at night and it's cold, and there's always a crane looking around. There's a sentinel watching for something. He's going to be found out. He's going to get soaking wet and cold and feel foolish and not get any dinner. He's not going to do that again. So that's a pretty good technique for survival at night. Also, the eating behavior, they're kind of opportunistic omnivores. They'll eat anything. So put it all together, they are great survivalists until we came along. And we start to chew up their habitat. So you see, in these cases, we have deceased cranes that have been stuffed, the two subspecies of the greater and the lesser Sandhill crane. The greater is actually, because of our destruction of their habitat, is protected under the California Endangered Species Act, so it's a protected species. Now, you see about how they survive at night. They have to roost overnight in shallow water with long sight lines. So that's going to dictate our goal today. We want to see where they're flying. When they wake up in the morning, they spread out. They go to wherever the food is. They'll change the places. They'll hang out someplace. They eat up all the food. They go to another place. They like to eat leftover grain when the farmers harvest corn, for example. There's a lot of spillage. They like to eat the leftover grain. Same for the rice, wheat. But at night, there are only a few places that meet their requirements for their roosting. And we know a few of them, one of which is across the road here. But it varies during the course of the winter while they're here. They're just here in the fall and winter. It depends on how deep water is. Wherever you see water, it means somebody turned on a valve. These are all managed wetlands. Very rare to have. You have to go out in the delta before you find wetlands that are natural. But here, somebody turned on a valve. So it depends on how much they flooded it up and how much it drained out. So I don't know about today. But if we had a small group of people, we just caravan in our cars down to either Woodbridge Road or Staten Island. Now we have here little one-page handouts that you can take with you. When you come back another day, that's it, thank you. Come back another day, you might want to go out to Woodbridge Road on your own or to Staten Island. But today, what we're going to do, we're going to do a 1 mile hike. If anybody doesn't want to do that, you could just go across the road and meet us there. 1 mile hike, we're going to walk north on this side of the road a mile, cross over, and walk back a mile. We're going to end up across the road at an observation deck. And hope that the conditions are right, that the cranes fly in for the evening. See, right now they're all over the place. We could run around, just burn up a lot of gas. We don't want to do that. So, no guarantees, like I said, but there's a very, very good chance they're going to come in for the evening across the road. I could go on, but time is short. Sun sets. Other questions?
Is there a big difference in size between the greater and the lesser Sandhill crane?
See, that's a good question. You can actually see there's a lesser.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you. Yeah, there is.
You know, you could also ask us questions as we're walking along. Allison will be with some of you. I'll be with some of you. We're going to stop halfway. I'm going to run to my vehicle and put away my props and catch up with you. Allison will be with you on the hike. And
Do they have eggs every year?
Well, they don't start mating until they're like 3, 4 years old, and even the first year they try, they might not be very successful. But they pretty much every year after that they try.
And their life expectancy?
Well, in the wild they could live late 20s, early 30s, which is a lot. In captivity they could live 3 times as long.
We're the board of directors of Save Our Sandhill Cranes, and my job that I choose on the board is to create media that we use to show people the cranes. So we do these tours. This is our major thing that we do, is to invite people out and show them where to go on their own to be with the cranes. Because we'll just have a slice of time this evening. And what we're going to see this evening is coming together at the roost where they spend the night. So we'll see them flying in from all different directions, and there'll be a couple there, and as others fly in, they'll see those there and decide, oh, this looks like a safe place. So then more and more will come to that. Usually people leave too early, particularly photographers. They'll continue to come after the light. It's really important just to listen, and when you're using binoculars, to also be aware that there's a lot more happening around you than just what you're seeing, or with a spotting scope. So keep your awareness. Listen for a chorus of a couple of cranes singing together. And if you have your binoculars, or they're close enough, you may see that the male goes up and the female goes like this. They go together. You'll often hear activity like a dance and playing before it actually begins. So when you're out here looking this way and you hear something, immediately go over there and try to figure out where the sound is coming from, because that's where the action's going to take place. And just be with that and realize that they're social creatures, that they communicate together, they travel in their families, they travel in their groups, they're always aware of what's going on, where their people are, and how to stay together. This place is a fabulous place. I'm not going to talk about the political ramifications of putting a pipeline right down the middle of this island. I'm here as a media development guy. We do have people who are spending a lot of hours going over these proposals and attending meetings and doing what's necessary to represent the cranes. This habitat is critical for the Sandhill Cranes. This is ground zero in our area right here. It's very, very important. That's all I'm going to say. Down this road, there'll be a sign. The sign right there says no, big no, right? Trespassing, hunting, fishing, camping. That means don't get off the road. It doesn't mean that you can't go on the road. The road is open to the public 24/7, except when they're doing massive harvestings and they have the big machines on the road. And that's rare and pretty much done, I believe. So this road travels down a couple of miles and becomes a gravel road. A really good gravel road, because they have to haul big equipment on it. So just go slow, watch for potholes. All along the way, you'll see water and you'll see wildlife, and you'll see there's ditches along the road. If you were to stop at any time and just walk very slowly and very quietly up to the bank of one of those ditches, you'd be amazed at the wildlife that's in there. Recently there was an otter family that just frolicked by while we were filming. It was kind of nice. And there's a huge, huge selection of birds out here, migratory birds and resident birds. Just enjoy them. We have a little while before we have to be in position. In position is at 5 miles from this spot, and there is a nice parking area and a big barn that has harvesting equipment in it. The two barn owls hang out in the barn, and there's a dilapidated water tower that has for several years been home to the great horned owl. And last time I was here, it came out and just sang or talked or whatever they do, hooted, for about a half an hour. It was really lovely, just lovely. And they're used to people, being right by the water tower. Just keep your voices down. And as a group, it's okay to talk at about this level, but don't make a lot of noise and don't move rapidly. Just move slowly and don't be a threat. Emanate peaceful vibration. And then peaceful creatures will be attracted to you.
And I always like to mention the gravel road it's pretty dusty, so we try to go slow just so you don't kick up a whole cloud of dust.
Roll your windows up, and whenever you're out here near dusk, keep your cars closed, or you'll get in your cars and it'll be full of little creatures flying around, which you'll take home. So close all your windows and keep your doors closed. Open them, get your stuff, and then close them again. We'll have time really. There's no reason to go all the way down there now. I mean, you can stop at any time on this road, and the cranes will be out in the fields and in the ponds, but not necessarily where they're going to roost together. Just kind of being, and it's nice to just stop and watch them be. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? So allegedly, we're here for the fly-in, and that happens as the sun goes down and they decide when to come together. It is very important that you do not leave the parking lot. Don't walk towards the water to get up on a levee to have a better view. If people do that, which is a violation of some law, but there's a higher law. There's an understanding between the humans and the cranes that the humans won't do that, and the cranes know that. So as a result, they're more comfortable being close. It's the same way at Kasumnes in any of these areas where it says, don't go there, don't go there.
Otherwise, they learn to back off even further. Because we've had novices come out, and we're so excited by their enthusiasm, but they want to get closer and closer, and the birds back further and further away. So that's why we keep the distance. Because I think some of you, once you sort of feel comfortable being out here, you might want to bring friends to see the fly-in. So you become ambassadors, you learn all these explanations that we're giving you now. We'll be very happy if you're able to then pass that along to your friends out here. But it is important to stay back. Occasionally we'll see a coyote come through the field, and you'll see all the birds lift, which is kind of interesting. You've got a natural environment out here, and anything that you know about nature, try to remember it. We're guests. And I'd love when you go slowly down this road, look off into the field. They'll be pretty far out. So it's always nice to have a spotter and a driver in the car. And the spotter, just keep looking. When you see something sort of gray, slow down, get your binoculars out and see if it happens to be the birds. Families will always be, 2, 4, but you'll always see cranes together. You see a single heron, enjoy it for her.
And if you come out to this very same area, the principle is this. Where they come in at night to roost, they will be in the morning. So if you're going to bring somebody out for a dawn thing and it's a big deal to get them out, come the night before and kind of look around and see where the roost site is. Then come to the roost site at least a half an hour before dawn. The best auditory experience is pretty much an hour before dawn. And you hear different creatures waking up. It's really phenomenal. But it's very important when you're viewing cranes. As you approach them, you move slowly and strangely don't look at them. Get a fix on where they are, and then put your head down, shoulders forward, move very slowly, and just watch them peripherally. They have sentries, you'll see. There's always a sentry up. They're the antelope of the wetlands, and you're not going to fool them. If they start to move away, then stop, or even go down like this, and just wait a couple of minutes until they relax. Then stand up and slowly start moving. If they start to move, then stop. If they're committed to moving away, they're going to continue, you might as well just back off, walk around, and find another spot, because they will just slowly walk away from you. if you're there and you're peaceful and you're low profile and you're quiet and you're not wearing red, you know, the redheads, red is a,
Signal to them.
yeah, okay. So we're going to just kind of work down the road, and if you see something nice, stop, and we'll all gather together down at the end of the road at the dilapidated water tower.
Even a fraction of a move will take it out. Oh, that's yeah. No.
Can you give me those colors again that were on the left? In order from the top.
Your color. There he is. Okay, he's red. I'd say silver. It's about half size. It's
Okay,
a small
that's
one.
the federal. Okay.
Okay, and then orange, green, and that's it. It sits on top of it.
Now the Fed usually is on top or bottom.
This one's on top.
Okay.
The one above the one the number was on it. There's a yellow one above it,
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's yellow,
and then
P282.
right, and nothing below it.
Okay, that makes sense. And that's on the right leg.
That's on the right leg. The other one's
Red or Fed, red, orange, green.
right. Right.
Those are swans. Yep, no legs, white, black head. So these numbers that you just gave me, I will email to the National Wildlife Database. So they'll have a history on this and a sighting at this date. And he's listening, that's the call, and he's listening for a response so he knows where his friends are. There's a family coming in here. It's difficult when they're flying to identify who's a male, who's a female, who's a juvenile. Once they hit the ground, it's a little bit easier. The males are slightly bigger. Juveniles are generally a little more active, so jump around stuff, just like toddlers. The water has to be just the perfect depth for them. These ponds here are too deep. So they come here and they keep these ponds just about right, 2 to 8 inches. And that way they can sense predators coming. So they all stand in water overnight and sleep. And there's always one awake. Even in the middle of the night, you could come here and you can hear a single crane calling out, just kind of on sentry duty. And I hadn't seen it for 2 years. Prior to that, I had seen it every year for 3 years at Casumas. And just last 2 weeks ago, I got perfect video of it again. Yeah. So that's the 6th year the crane has come to the essentially same place.
What's their life expectancy?
In the wild, they could live 20, 30, 40 years in protected. It could be 60.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah, there was a banded pair that were together 27 years that we saw a couple of years ago. We haven't seen them for 2 years.
So if one dies, what does the other one do? Do they go find another
Yeah,
mate,
they're
or-
serially monogamous.
Okay. So they will find another mate.
Yes, and they'll stay together. I'm not a biologist, okay, but the biologists say if they're unable to be successful as a mated pair, they may split up. They mature at about age 3 or 4.
offspring than
Sometimes
one?
they have two.
Okay.
Yes. Oftentimes they'll start with two and end up with one or none.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So a group of four may indeed be a family and two. Two babies. A mated pair and two babies. I was sent an email on a Wednesday in June about a nest right next to Highway 395. So I went up that weekend. I found it that day and watched it, and there were two eggs on it. And I was just there for the weekend. I passed it off to another photographer I know up there, and he followed it.
Yeah.
And one of the two eggs hatched and was successfully fledged. The other one didn't hatch. I got some excellent video of the routine of swapping. They share duties. In this case, the female spent the day, and then as the sun came down, or after sundown actually, the male came in and worked his way. It took him like an hour to work his way to the nest, going back and forth and being very sly and stopping and looking, and you know, and then arrived at the little pond. And I had a big lens focused right on him, shooting video with a parabolic stereo mic, and I was right on him, and I was surprised. He just started doing the call, and then I realized that the female had come off the nest, and they called together. They did the unison call. It was like a greeting after the day, and they did that for a while. And then I realized that I could hear in this farmland in Modoc County, I could hear, oh, there's a nest there, there's a nest there, there's a nest. There was 6 or 7 nests just around along the road, in the fields.
Well spread out.
Where there was water. Yeah, all spread out. They have big territories that they return to and they defend, so that they have the food resources for their babies.
And you said they nest in an area where there's water.
They build a nest right up out of the water.
Okay, I see.
Yes.
So they have, okay.
Yeah, it's like a platform.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
it really is.
So here in the winter they come together, but in the spring and summer in their territories they're rarely in groups like this. So those are swans above. You can't see their legs going down behind them. And look at the cranes right below them. You see the legs. And then the cranes drop their legs as they prepare to land. Yep. They put their wings in a flat position, go into a stall, and then drop their feet, create resistance, and then they basically fall the last 3 or 4 feet.
They're looking for
They just take it down.
looking for a bear spot.
So when you hear that, do a scan, see if you can see which pair is doing it, and then watch better, because there's a possibility of some dancing and playing. There's some. Directly up. It's fabulous. Just fabulous. So since there are that many there, tomorrow morning there will be that many there, and you could see the morning routine, which is they're much more active. They slowly wake up, they preen their feathers for a while, and they just kind of walk around, and then they start to get anxious to go eat. And they have to develop a consensus among their groups. So they'll be communicating with a murmur kind of sound that you can't really hear when it's so loud like this. But they communicate close together. And then they do the lean, indicating that they're preparing to go and what direction they're going to go. And if you watch closely, they'll do a head flick to indicate where they're going to go once they get in the air, which direction. So they have all this worked out before they leave.
Bye.